1 win in their last 6. 1 clean sheet in their last 18 league appearances and 58 goals conceded this season. Absolutely shocking reading if you're a Tottenham fan. However, there is more than meets the eye with this Tottenham team, as Harvey would explain.
Where Tottenham's main issue of conceding goals isn't actually down to the players that make up the back four as much as people might think that, because it actually comes down to the midfield being extremely separated from the defence, leaving no protection whatsoever.
So is there a resemblance between the way Ten Hag's United defend and the way that Tottenham defend under Postecoglu due to the large gap between the midfield and the back line?
Potentially, you could say that. I mean, listen, that is a valid case because when Man United set up, you can see that the teams break through them so easily. Like, you can literally play one pass. Literally, exactly. Like, and it's very similar to Tottenham, right? Basically, Tottenham set up with a press, with the attack and the midfield. They set up two press. But teams, if they have just an ounce of quality, they can play a line split and pass and now instantly take out the entire attack and midfield. And it's similar to Ten Hag's Manchester United, right, where the team can literally play one ball through and it takes out the attack and the midfield, and they're left, basically, you've got the opposition's midfield and attack against Manchester United's defence, and it's extremely similar to Tottenham. Exactly, like Romero, Van der Ven, Porro and Udogie, I mean, he's not been playing at the moment, but they aren't actually at fault for all the goals we've been conceded because a lot of set pieces, of course, which we'll move on to soon. But in terms of open play, Tottenham's actual conceding problems isn't from their defence. It sounds ridiculous to say, right? Because you look at the back four and think, oh, they must be weak because they're conceding goals left, right and centre. But
or you look at the goalkeeper.
Yeah, or you look at the goalkeeper. But again, Vicario's been absolutely phenomenal.
Probably been the best goalkeeper in the league this season. Yeah, because Alisson's been injured quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say there's been any standout candidate bar Vicario. He's been class every time I've watched him.
I'd agree with that, for sure. And it's extremely weird to say that they're not at fault at all. Like,
yes.
Even me right now as a Spurs fan, it feels like, I mean, there must be something wrong, but there's not, because they've been absolutely fantastic. They haven't really put a foot wrong. And there's not really much they can do when the attack in the midfield, they go up and press, one pass through, that's it. They're literally left. You've got opposition's midfield and attacking the back four.
Did you not think, though, that because of Postecoglu's high-risk, high-reward system, that no matter what midfield you have in front, you'll always concede chances? It's a bit like the way Liverpool under Klopp, even at their best, even with Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Henderson covering the ground, doing the hard yards in front of them, they would still be left exposed at times just because of the way they play.
I mean, yeah, that could be the case because Postecoglu plays a high-risk, high-reward system, right? He's done that everywhere he goes. And at Tottenham, it is the same, but they shouldn't be conceding multiple chances like this because it is absolutely shocking. I mean, the midfield and attack are completely separated from the defence, as I mentioned earlier, and there is no sort of chemistry at all. And it's like they've never played with each other. Like, you look at the start of the season, they look like they all knew each other really well, and they played.
It's like that new manager bounce now.
Yeah,
looking back on it.
Yeah, exactly.
At the start, you thought, well, this team, the way they've been coached, the way they're already settling so fast, good things to come. Yeah. But now it may be just a new manager bounce, or do you reckon it could be due to fatigue? Because this is sort of a different way to look at the whole scenario. But under Conte and Mourinho, yes, they worked hard as players, but during the match, there was a lot of defending. They weren't really pressing as much. Whereas now they're in the Postecoglu system where they have to cover a lot more ground, press a lot more harder, and work a lot more harder. Do you not think that the players are just burnt out potentially, the ones that played a lot of football?
That could potentially be the case, but then you look at the games we just had, right? Because the last 4 matches have been absolutely shocking, right? In terms of results-wise, right? In terms of how much we conceded. You had a 2-week break for the North London derby, right? Which should be absolutely fine, right? Tottenham only have played 2 games in the FA Cup and 1 game in the Carabao Cup. That's it. No European football, nothing else.
So you think that isn't valid because they just haven't played as much football as the other teams?
No, I genuinely believe that it cannot be an excuse because we played way more football for the last 10 years, right? Than this season.
True.
And it cannot be. I get his system is obviously, it's very intense, but you can't blame fatigue because we've played 38 Premier League matches.
It's got to be a factor today potentially.
Potentially, but I don't think it's a valid excuse.
Because the system they play is just so much more intense and vigorous than under Conte or Mourinho.
Agreed, yeah.
Like they just, against Liverpool, years gone by, you'd sit in, absorb pressure, hit on the break. Whereas against us now, you are more proactive, and you're more proactive against any team you play. So maybe the players now coming to this part of the season, they're starting to feel it in their legs, whereas before, they maybe had that extra 10%, 20%, and they could keep going for longer.
That could be the case, but then you also look at the players we brought back in, right? So Udogie's had injuries. I mean, he's injured now, but Udogie did come back from an injury. Maddison came back from a long injury. Bentancur came back from an injury. So I would say, yes, it doesn't help us because obviously we had a lot of players out and that didn't help results. But in terms of the players that we're talking about, like Maddison, right? Son's the only person that's played pretty much every game, right? So I can understand with him in terms of fatigue. I wouldn't say it's a valid... Oh, and Vicario, but he's a goalkeeper, isn't it? So it's not really the same.
No.
But in terms of outfield players, Maddison's been injured, Bentancur's been injured, there's been multiple players that have been injured. Van der Ven's been injured.
Porro's
been injured. Udogi's been injured, so these players have actually had breaks.
But could these injuries be due to the intense system picking up more injuries because they're getting used to it in their legs?
That might be the case.
I'm not a Tottenham fan, so I don't know as much. But did you get this amount of injuries under Conte and Mourinho, or is this just so vast?
No, we didn't get this. No, like the injury crisis that we had at pretty much at the start of the season, right? When we played, I think it was like November, December time. That was really bad. Like that was awful. Like, the injury crisis.
The worst you've seen it in years at Tottenham.
Oh, yeah, like that was. I mean, we went to the Etihad with a back four fullbacks, right? So it was awful. But then you look at them now, you'd think they'd be used to this system, right? I mean, the injuries kind of happened, right? The injury crisis has happened. I wouldn't exactly say the injuries now should, like, if anything, the injuries should actually allow them to have a break, right? In terms of
True.
They had a break. Like Maddison had a long-term injury, right? That should be his break, and they should come back and play well. But as soon as he's come back, he's been absolutely dreadful, right? And players like him and even Son, pretty much every player at the club, bar, funny enough, the defence and the goalkeeper, need to take a lot of accountability because they have been absolutely dreadful. And you can't just put all the blame on the manager, because I see a lot of rival fans say, right, they go, oh, well, Postecoglu, he must be to blame. Like, he's been found out. His system's awful, right? But then they also agree that the players aren't very good.
You can see where they're coming from, though, in the sense of his system, although he does change personnel and he does tweak things slightly, his system is very... I know he did say he's always going to play with us, but when Klopp joined Liverpool, I know I reference Liverpool all the time, but being a Liverpool fan, you've watched the evolution of Klopp's system. When he joined, the gegenpressing was so proactive, it was so aggressive, whereas in the last few years at Liverpool, well, since we sort of won the title, it sort of toned it down a notch. That 17-18 season compared to the 18-19 season, we were quite different in the way we pressed. We weren't as aggressive, one, to save our energy and legs, and one, to control games better. So do you reckon maybe Postecoglu's got to do something like Klopp, in the sense of tweak his system slightly in terms of being maybe less proactive in the press?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not saying Postecoglu has no blame whatsoever, right?
No.
Because every manager that we've had in the past, even though I don't think that they're at fault, they have all had their issues where they've got things wrong, right? Like, I think Postecoglu...
It's hard to be perfect under Levy as well.
Exactly. Like, no manager's perfect. No. Managers make mistakes. We see Pep make mistakes. We see Klopp has made mistakes. You know, we've seen even Arteta, right, has made mistakes. So we've seen top managers make mistakes, and Postecoglu's not going to get it right all of the time, right? So I understand that. But with his actual system as a whole, I think is a great philosophy. I do think it's a great idea. He does need to tweak it.
Yes.
But then he has at times, right, in the North London derby, he put in Højbjerg and Kulusevski, right, when instead of Johnson and Basuma, right? So people...
That was tailored to combat Arsenal's...
Yeah, it was tailored to combat Arsenal's... Well, Højbjerg was put in to combat Odegaard, right, because Odegaard has been absolutely phenomenal this season, right? He's been absolutely electric, right? He's been very good to watch, even as a Tottenham fan, okay? Yeah. But to stop him, he put in Højbjerg, and that is a sign of sort of adapting his system in a way. You know what I mean? He put in players to stop the opposition, right? But then when I see Tottenham fans...
The tactics were still the same, though. The blueprint was still there.
Yeah, the blueprint is still there. The tactics are still
I know they always will be, but it was maybe just a tactical change to combat Arsenal themselves, not really a tactical change as a whole. Like, they're not changing their whole system moving forward.
Agreed, but I do think if he wanted to change it now, like if he wanted to all of a sudden change his philosophy, the players would be extremely confused.
No, I didn't mean change it completely. I mean tweak it slightly. I know maybe it's hard mid-season.
But I do think I don't think he has the right players to do that.
Maybe he'll wait till the summer, when the players have had their full season, you can really analyse and study them, look back and say, where did the drop-off come?
Yeah.
What was the reason why? Where did we go wrong? And maybe reevaluate the whole situation.
That's what I believe he would do, yeah.
And if he's allowed to, because I know it's a big if, buts and maybes with Levy, address the issues in the transfer market, maybe sign a centre-back, maybe sign a DM, a striker, a number 10, who knows, whatever he thinks feels is needed in his system.
He said he wants a new squad, pretty much a new squad, right? So, and I absolutely agree with him, because we've got a bunch of average players in our squad, right? They've completely been overhyped at the start of the season, like... Listen, even myself, I thought they were better than they were.
Well, you thought Basuma was a whole level above Endo, and I did myself.
He's a massive talking about Basuma,
you'd trade Basuma and Endo any day of the week, wouldn't you?
No, not at all. I mean,
you would. You would trade Basuma and Endo.
Oh, I thought you said I wouldn't. Sorry, no, absolutely not. I'd take Endo.
Because Endo's not even that good on the ball, and a lot of fans rate him, but I don't think he's that great of a player, but he does show more desire, more fight, grit, determination than Basuma, and despite the fact he's not quite as good on the ball, you cannot compensate those sort of attributes as a defensive midfielder. You just can't leave that out.
I just believe Basuma right now isn't good enough for Ange's system. Like, in that number 6 role, you have to have a lot of reliance, right, from the team. You receive the ball a hell of a lot, right, in the number 6 role in a Postecoglu system, and he just isn't brave enough, and he actually isn't right now good enough on the ball. Like, before at the start of the season, he was fantastic on the ball, right? That's because, you know, when everyone was rating him saying he's so good, it's not because of his defensive work, it's because of how good he was on the ball.
He's very press resistant. Yeah. A bit like Moussa Dembele, obviously not as good in terms of receiving the ball in that region.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was fantastic on the ball, and now he's absolutely dreadful. Like, loses the ball all the time. It's genuinely awful, and he just simply isn't good enough. And he also pushes up extremely high. Now, maybe that could be a tactic deployed from Postecoglu, which needs to be looked at. But then you look at when Højbjerg was put in the North London derby, right? He was way more conservative than Basuma. Basuma, for some reason, I saw against Liverpool, I saw him pressing the centre back.
Basuma's got more legs than Højbjerg, though. Potentially, that could be a reason why.
That's true. That could be the case, yeah. But I just believe he wants a new, and I think there's been reports that he wants a new defensive midfielder, because I think you want someone like Paulinho, right? Maybe not him exactly, but someone like him.
Proper ball winner.
Yeah. Fantastic on the ball, and he's fantastic defensively, because we need someone urgently to protect that back four.
Pretty much, in a Postecoglu system, in any high-pressing system, because you commit so many men forward, there's obviously the big risk of being hit on transition. Yeah. So you've got to have a DM, and I know we keep referencing it, but Fabinho at Liverpool, the way he used to win so many balls back and stop so many counter-attacks. Rodri at City, they're constantly good at. Fernandinho was a master at it, stopping the counter-attack, whether that be for a foul, yes, he may receive a booking, or winning the ball fair and square, and it's absolutely key in any system where you push loads of men forward, isn't it?
Agreed. Amid all these problems, the main issue that Tottenham have isn't even from open play, it's actually from set pieces. I mean, set pieces is absolutely dreadful.
16 goals conceded in the league this season from set pieces. That is woeful, isn't it?
It's terrible. I mean, you can see every single corner that an opposition team has, or every single free kick. I'm literally sat there expecting it to be a goal. That's how bad we are on set pieces. It is genuinely shocking, and it is an issue that Ange did have at Celtic, so it seems to be a recurring theme that he has, which is something he needs to address. And there has been reports that he is looking to improve his backroom staff, and I suspect this is the main issue he will be looking to address, as Mason and Jednik are far from good enough.
And if you look at Arsenal and City, especially Arsenal this season, how many goals have they scored from set pieces where you see that little man celebrating in the corner?
True,
it's because he is working on how to score from set pieces. And yes, that isn't defending, but Arsenal are excellent at defending set pieces.
Fantastic,
City are pretty good as well. Yeah. And even if you look at something completely different, but along the lines of bringing in a coach for a specific job, is when Liverpool brought in a throwing coach years ago, and that completely elevated their game from throw-ins. It's a sort of an aspect of a game that the manager wouldn't really think about. Liverpool brought someone in, and it completely revolutionised their style of play from that aspect. And I think Tottenham, like you said, they need to address that moving forward. Getting a throwing coach, getting a set piece coach, getting someone who can elevate Tottenham's game and definitely eradicate these issues where they keep on conceding from set pieces, because you can't keep going on like this, can you?
Not at all.
Teams will just look at it as a weakness and they'll just target it every match.
And they do. I mean, you see them, they surround Vicario, they surround all the players. Like, for some reason we do zonal marking throughout the season. It does not work. I don't know why Jednik and Ryan Mason continue to do that, because obviously Postecoglu does have a say, but he's not necessarily a specific set piece guy. Well, the fact that I have seen reports saying he is looking to improve his backroom staff really does give me confidence, because if he wasn't, let's be real, his job is probably going to be under threat, if not now.
He's got to cut ties with people like this, although they could be good friends with them, or he could have worked with them for a while. If it's not working, it's not working. No,
not at all. I mean, listen, the set pieces are genuinely, like, the defense. Like I said to Zach earlier off camera, us defending set pieces, it's the worst team I've ever seen at defending set pieces in my lifetime. So it is that bad.
Do you generally think this is purely down to the way that Tottenham set up when defending set pieces, or do you think it's sort of to do with personnel as well? Do you think that Van de Ven, Romero, they're not very good at clearing their lines, winning aerial duels? Do you think Vicario isn't commanding enough coming out the box, or do you think Tottenham just lack overall height in their team? Because apart from Van de Ven, Romero, and the keeper, you're not really a tool side. You don't really have many tool midfielders, any tool forwards, do you? Quite like some teams like City and Liverpool.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, listen, they're not.
Arsenal have a lot of tool players.
No, that's true. I do get that. But I wouldn't exactly say we're necessarily a small team, because you look at Son, he's quite tall. He's actually 6 foot.
But you don't have many commanding players. But in terms of commanding,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, in terms of commanding players, no, it's not the best. Right,
Van
it's not
Dijk,
great.
Rodri's, Gabriel's, Ruben Diaz. Although the latter aren't particularly tall, they're decent at winning players. And obviously Van Dijk's a monster at it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I do think, I mean, listen, this is partly on Ange, but also mainly on his staff, which is who I'm sort of more going at here. If you think the personnel isn't exactly good enough for what you want to do, because what we're doing right now, the zonal marking clearly isn't working. So if the personnel, because it might be a great idea, it's not, but it might be a great idea, right? It might be, the zonal marking might be a genius idea, but if it's not working with the players that you have, then you have to adapt, you have to change it, right? You have to change what you're doing, because clearly it's not like we're conceding fairly regular. We're conceding from set pieces
but does this
almost
link
every
back
match.
to Postecoglu not wanting to change his tactics very much in terms of the way he plays stylistically? So maybe he doesn't want to change, or maybe he's had conversations with these sort of lads, and they said, no, if we change this may hamper us in this situation or this situation.
I would agree. I would agree, saying, well, Postecoglu clearly he rates his staff, and it is absolutely shocking if he does. But evidently he doesn't. With the reports that have come out, the fact that he wants to improve his backroom staff gives me hope. Because if he didn't want to improve his backroom staff, like I said, it was only a matter of time before he's going to lose his job. Because if we keep conceding from set pieces, it simply isn't good enough. And it is a sackable offence.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content just like this one, and we'll catch you in the next one.